Hello, my friend, and welcome to the podcast today. We are talking about balancing blood sugar for weight loss. There are so many myths around this that this will be a good episode to give you a new perspective on it, I hope. So it is end of August here in Minnesota. So my husband and I will be going to the state fair this week. We actually have the second largest state fair in America behind Texas. And I grew up in Michigan, and there was really only the agricultural families that went to the state fair so much. But here it's a thing. People go. There's so much to do, so much to see. You can see animals. You can go to the eco booth. There are rides. There are art displays like fine art. There are art displays like art made out of seeds. You can buy some cool things there. And of course, the food, right? So I've already been talking to my husband about what I want to eat. And we'll probably go have dinner in the global market area. There's some really nice, healthy meals there. And we like that because, when you are in the menopause transition and beyond, food really affects how you feel. So we'll eat that first. And then there's a stand that has gluten-free cheese curds. And I love to have me some gluten-free cheese curds once a year. So I'm hoping to have that this week. And also the corn dipped in butter. There may be some unhealthy fats in there too, but this is something very fun to have. You walk over, they dip your corn in this big vat of butter and hand it to you. And it's right near the grandstand where they have the concerts. So if you're there at night, you can sit and eat this juicy corn and listen to music. So those are my food plans for the fair. I like to tell you this stuff because I'm not that strict. I want us to be able to enjoy things. We don't want to eat junk all the time, but we occasionally want to have some things that are outside of our normal healthy eating. So that's what my husband and I are doing this time. All right. What is balancing blood sugar and what is it not? So there's this myth that balancing blood sugar is keeping our blood sugar about the same all the time. And this is not actually true for most people. Now, if you are someone who has type 1 diabetes and cannot make your own insulin, then you have your own plan on what balancing blood sugar is. But really, for the rest of the human race, balancing blood sugar is not about keeping your blood sugar level all the time. So what balancing blood sugar is not spiking too high and having a big drop, because that feels terrible. So we want to not spike too high, and we want to have some times where things are quiet, where we're insulin deficient, where our blood sugar is not up, where our insulin levels are really low. And that is what balancing blood sugar is. So let's talk a little bit about history. Let's talk about the 1970s. Good times. You were probably a small child then, or maybe a medium grown up. So in 1977, most people in the United States ate 3 meals a day. Now, if you fast forward to 2003, most people in the United States eat 5 to 6 times a day. So we need to think about what that does to our blood sugar and our blood insulin. So if we graph insulin, which comes in to clear out the food that we have eaten, it processes it so you can use some of it for energy right then, and then it stores it. There's a little bit of space in the liver to store it, and then there's a lot of space to store it as fat. In fact, as we know, almost unlimited space to store it as fat. So that's what insulin does. Now, if we eat 3 meals a day and graph out what our insulin does, we have these nice little curves. We eat our meal and insulin has a nice curve. It comes up and works its job, processing the glucose and storing the extra glucose. And then it goes down again. And then it's quiet and low. And then we get to the next meal. And depending on how much we eat is how high that insulin curve goes. And depending on what we've eaten, also depends on how high that insulin curve goes. But again, we want a nice curve, and then we want everything to go quiet and insulin to go low again. So this happens 3 times if you eat 3 meals a day. Now, if you eat 6 times a day, what we get is a insulin curve after the meal, using that up. And it may not actually go all the way low if we have a snack. So we get our nice curve from our first meal of the day, and then it goes right into another bump, which goes into a curve for the next meal, which goes into another bump, and a curve for our third meal. And then if we have a 6th eating time, another bump. And then it goes low while we sleep. So if you're thinking, this is actually what I do, and I thought that was blood sugar balancing, that is not what you're doing. What you're doing is keeping insulin around all the time. Now, insulin tells our body to process this glucose and to store this glucose. And if you consider that you have insulin, if you eat 6 meals a day or 3 meals and 2 to 3 snacks, then what you have done is kept insulin around for 18 hours, possibly. And so you have activated a hormone that tells your body to store fat for 18 hours. And then only 6 hours is it quiet while you actually sleep. Now, if we do the 3 meal thing, then we're a little bit more than half with insulin hanging around, but we're also close to half with insulin quiet and low. Now, in the quiet and low times, we do not die, right? We stay alive even though we are not eating in the moment. And that is because what our body does is it needs to pull energy, right? Our heart has to keep pumping. Our brain is always doing something, even when we're sleeping. And so when we don't have any insulin around telling it to store, then our body will say, okay, I need energy. It will pull that little bit of energy store that's glycogen out of the liver, and then it will pull fat for energy out of your storage areas, which we all know where those are. And in the menopause transition and beyond, we see it in our bellies, right? So what our goal is to have balanced blood sugar where we have insulin that comes in to clear out that blood sugar, and then there's quiet time in between. Now, here's the other problem with eating small amounts all day long, is that when we have insulin around for 18 hours, it starts to not work as well. We think sometimes of hormones as keys fitting into a lock. They signal processes in our body. It's like a key that goes up to a cell and fits into a lock. Now, if it's around all the time, it doesn't work as well. So the body says, this insulin is not working. We must need more insulin. So it sends more. So if we have insulin around for 18 hours and are quiet for only 6 hours, when you wake up in the morning, you will actually start with a higher insulin level, and you'll have higher levels all day long. And this is what happens to people with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. The main problem is insulin resistance, where our body is pouring more insulin into the bloodstream because it doesn't work as well. Now, people with type 2 diabetes, when they lose weight, oftentimes can cure their diabetes. And that is because they are getting more insulin sensitive and not having so much insulin around all the time. Okay. Now, what are other myths about balancing blood sugar? So myth number 1 that we've been taught by the diet industry is to eat 5 to 6 small meals a day, and that will keep our metabolism revved up. It turns out when we do research on this that whether you eat 3 meals or if you spread those out over 6 meals, it's not actually better. You have the same actual thermogenic burn, like your body. If you think of your body as a furnace, it burns about the same amount if you spread it out or if you have it as 3 meals. So if you look over the 24 hours, it is very similar. So you don't actually gain anything in metabolism by spreading that out. And as I've explained, you lose a lot in insulin by having too much insulin around and insulin around all the time. Okay. Number 2, this was an idea that was interesting to try, but didn't work out. So myth number 2 is that eating frequently controls hunger. And I get why they say this. Like, if you constantly eat all the time, you will never feel hungry. But there's no research to support that this is a better way. And there are other ways to control our hunger instead of this. Let me give you a few of those. So eating protein at every meal, which is extremely important for menopausal people. So women going through menopause, people going through menopause are wasting muscle because of the drop in estrogen. That's another problem with menopause. But if we eat protein, then we can maintain our muscle mass better. And on our weight loss journey, it's super important actually that we eat enough protein so that we don't just lose muscle mass as our weight loss. So turns out protein helps us stay satisfied longer. So eating protein at your meal can help you stay satisfied until the next meal. Okay. Healthy fats also give you that feeling of fullness and help you stay satisfied till the next meal. Now, all of you that were kids in the 80s are worried about fat because you know the difference in calories between a fat calorie and a calorie in a piece of celery. You don't have to worry about this actually. When you eat olive oil, it doesn't actually raise your insulin level at all. So it's not free. You can't overeat it. It's not eat as much as you want, but eat enough to be satisfied and watch how it helps you stay satisfied till the next meal. Okay. Fiber. So our vegetables and our berries also are ways that balance our blood sugar by eating them at meals. So when we have them, I get people who say they don't eat fruit on their weight loss journey or have given it up altogether because there are natural sugars in there. But the fiber in there really counteracts it. You think of a blueberry, and blueberry is like the most recommended food with all the best health data there is and is great on your weight loss journey. Blueberries are really sweet, right? But the fiber in there ties up the sugar, slows down the absorption of the sugar and of everything that we've eaten. So it helps you feel very satisfied and keeps you from having a blood sugar spike. If you took the actual amount of sugar in a half cup of berries and just ate that as table sugar, you'd have this huge blood sugar spike and a huge insulin spike to tell your body to store fat. But when we eat a half cup of blueberries themselves, we have that natural sugar with all that fiber, which gives you a very nice, gentle curve of blood sugar and insulin. And that is exactly what you want for your good health, to feel well, and for your weight loss journey. That is balancing blood sugar, having the fiber along with that natural sugar. Okay. The last myth I want to talk about balancing blood sugars is that this is going to keep our blood sugar from going too low. Well, this is only true for people with type 1 diabetes who do not make insulin themselves and have to add it in as a medication. So most human beings will keep their blood sugar stable and in a range that will keep you alive, whether you eat 6 times a day or whether you eat 6 times a month. That's a direct quote from Dr. Jason Fung in his book, Obesity Code. But this is important because there are many of us who think we have low blood sugar. I used to think, do I have hypoglycemia? I'd never been tested, but I would eat breakfast and then an hour or so later, I was shaky, right? I was hangry. Anybody else have that? It's such a common experience for us. But what that is that whatever I had for breakfast was a blood sugar spiker. It put me at the very top of the hill of that roller coaster. And the drop is what made me feel hangry. It's what made me feel shaky. And there are some of you out there who think that you have a blood sugar problem, and what you have is a blood sugar spike and drop problem. And if you can have at your meals some protein, some healthy fats, and some vegetables or berries, you will notice that hangry and that shake goes away. That is what balancing blood sugar is having the right things at your meals and then going forward with your day, not keeping yourself eating something all day long. So now let's picture this. This has happened to a lot of my clients. They've been told that you should eat little bits all the time, and that will keep your blood sugar stable, and that will help you keep from being hungry and help you lose weight. Now, it is true that your blood sugar will stay up all the time if you are eating all the time, and no matter what you eat, really. So if you eat snack food or you have some healthy food or whatever, and you just keep eating all the time, that will keep you from being hungry. But notice that it doesn't work for your body very well. So those of us who talk a lot about this insulin hormonal model of weight gain and weight loss, call people who eat all the time sugar burners, because your body will, as you eat constantly, then draw that food that you're eating all the time in and use it for energy. But it is at the same time storing fat. So you are using that food that you eat all day long, but you are also storing fat all day long. So this is not a great way to go and not a great way to lose weight. So if you can move to eating meals and having the right things in those meals, some protein, some fiber, some healthy fats, those will help you stay more balanced and be able to have time where your insulin goes low and your body uses fat naturally for weight loss. Now, somewhere between 3 and 6 hours later, you're going to get hungry again, and it's time to eat again. But this is the kind of blood sugar balancing that you want when we're thinking about weight loss. All right, my friend, in summary, balancing blood sugar for weight loss. We want to have time where insulin is working on the blood sugar we eat during meals with a nice gentle curve, and the insulin gets deficient because we don't need it around. Your healthy body will keep your blood sugar at a level that maintains your life in between meals and while you're sleeping. This is true if you do not have type 1 diabetes. Balancing blood sugar is also avoiding spikes. We don't want to spike up our blood sugar real high by eating processed foods, by eating simple sugars and added sugar, candy, cookies, cake, commercially made breads out of flour, because those spikes will lead to drops, which will make us feel terrible. And also those spikes spike up the insulin, which gives us more hormone around telling us to store fat. So those are important parts about balancing blood sugar. We hit the myths, right? 5 to 6 small meals does not make your metabolism better over eating 3 meals. Eating frequently may make it so that you don't feel hungry, but there's no research to support that this is better for weight loss. And there is research to support that at the menopause transition and beyond, and for people with prediabetes, that this is a worse way of eating. Along with looking at that myth, notice that eating protein at your meals, eating some healthy fat at your meals, and eating some fiber in the form of vegetables or berries are going to help you not feel hungry in between meals. And you'll be able to notice when you're hungry and ready for the next meal. Okay. The third myth, remember, is that grazing all day is going to keep your blood sugar from going too low. This is absolutely, flatly wrong. If you eat all day long, your blood sugar will be kept within a certain range that works for you to stay alive by your body. If you fast all day, your body will also keep your blood sugar in a range that is compatible with life and feels fine. So you do not need to eat all day long to balance your blood sugar. And I hope it's been clear through what I've said that it's that insulin that we need to go quiet and be low that will help us lose weight naturally. I put 2 things together today, blood sugar and insulin levels, and I hope that I explained it well for you. And please Reach out to me if you have other questions. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.